Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a Rocky Mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Sunday, July 4th, Monday, July 5th. For those of you across the pond and beyond, welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm so glad you guys can join us for this 4th of July free-for-all. I don't know for the life of me why anybody would be here today, but if you are here, thank you so much for listening and hanging out with us tonight. And I hope you guys had an awesome weekend. I hope this influx of heat has not been messing with you too bad. I hope you are keeping cool, staying calm, and enjoying the summer season. If you're listening live right now, you're listening on Spreaker.com. You can also find us on kpnl-db.com, which is KPNL Radio. And those are both our live outlets. Otherwise, you can find us on Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Tumblr, YouTube, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, Podcast Addict, as well as Podcast Chaser. So tonight, I have a treat for all my guys and gals out there tonight. We will be doing a 4th of July free-for-all. Happy Independence Day. I hope you guys are having fun with your families and enjoying yourselves. And like I said again, keep cool. This heat wave will go away soon. Tonight, we are joined by Mr. Len Dorman as well as Miss Mea Savage. Welcome, you guys, and thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight on the 4th of July free-for-all.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. Cue the fireworks.
Cheep, cheep, cheep. And those cracklers. Crack, crackle, crackle, crackle.
Are they having them this year? Are they having them?
I don't know about Bayfield so far, but I know
last year.
I read Durango canceled theirs.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I don't really go out usually for fireworks anyway, so
yeah.
Works for me.
Yeah, it gets pretty crazy.
Well, the 4th of July, you can celebrate at home because you probably don't know the 3rd of July is my birthday.
Well, happy birthday.
I started celebrating my birthday. Thank you. With this being a weekend, Friday I counted as a weekend, and Monday I'm counting as a weekend, so 4-day weekend. So I start celebrating at midnight tonight, my birthday. A 4-day celebration. Trying to figure out, should I drink tequila or rum? What do y'all think?
I think tequila. Because I like it.
Where is the rum?
Rum.
Well, both have their good points. The rum in New Orleans, it was in fact made in New Orleans at a distillery there. But tequila also has a story. Ursula Belsky, which has written several paranormal books and used to give tours of haunted Chicago, gave me the bottle of tequila several years ago. So it's well aged, and it came from basically a paranormal person.
Well,
if you remember remember the Ghost Adventures episode that was at Bachelor's Grove? This was aired 7-8 years ago. I was still in Chicago at the time. And she actually appeared on there as herself at the nightclub, the haunted nightclub. It was split. They did half the show at Bachelor's Grove, half of it in a haunted nightclub, the Excalibur downtown. And she actually appeared as herself in a reenactment of a ghost encounter she had in the ladies' bathroom a decade or so ago.
Well, I had another idea as far as your birthday startings. Yes, very special bottle of tequila. So, like I said before, tequila. But you can start with, a rum mixed drink and a tequila mixed drink, and then decide from there which one are you grooving with best. And if you go from there and you just stick with one, you should be okay. But if you kind of juggle them back and forth throughout the night, you might get in trouble.
Well, I don't make mixed drinks with either one of them. This is a quality tequila, and it's a quality rum. So I bring them both straight up out of shot glasses.
Very nice.
I would take the tequila, maybe like, I don't know, like at midnight or something, like one shot of it, and then maybe continue with the rum. I know if I have more than 2 shots of tequila, there's gonna be a problem.
Well, it depends on
there will be a problem.
what you call tequila, because a lot of people say Jose Cuervo is tequila, and I say, honey boo boo, that is not tequila, that is pure evil.
I agree.
My favorite is Hornito Silver, and it's way smoother than Patron or any other tequila you can have. It is so good, and it's my favorite, and it has never led me astray. Jose Cuervo and I, we used to be friends, but he got me into too much trouble, so we had to part ways, and we actually made amends when my sister came out this last month. And yeah, we got together and we made up, and it all turned out good. So, no more hard feelings against Jose. Yeah, we did. We made up. It was nice. Not gonna get too deep into it, but yeah, we made nice. Yeah, at first I was like, oh man, sister, I can't do that. And she took a shot, and I was like, I can't let you do a shot by yourself. So I did, and then it was more and more and more and more, of course. Went to the casino, had all kinds of shenanigans fun. I love being around my sister. She's very adventurous and just a free spirit. But yeah, it was fun. And, she helped me make friends again with Jose. But yeah, I don't think I'll see him again for quite a while. So what kind of tequila did your friend give you? What's the name of it?
I think it's Cuervo.
Really?
And your voice is out of sync with your video again.
Okay. Well, I might just turn off my video, because generally we have better sound anyways when I do that. But dang it! Yeah, I hate when that happens. It's just like, am I watching a Japanese movie or what? No, you look fine. You're perfectly lined up. You're in sync. I don't know. It's probably just the weirdness over here. Speaking of weirdness, have you guys had any paranormal or UFO or any otherworldly weirdness going on lately? We'll start with Len. First. Okay, Mea first.
Oh, I was gonna let you guys go first, but
we'll go in alphabetical order, and ladies first, like Len said. He's right. Oh. He's the gentleman. He knows.
It's just kind of I've been going through, and it's very strange, but I feel like I'm going through a kind of like a dark night of the soul, as they call it in New Age terminology. It's really just kind of like you're about to move to a new chapter, but I have tuned into a lot of like some negative things and some negative energies. I've been having some really, really, really crazy dreams. And I think what triggered it was the whole Britney Spears thing, and just like that kind of hearing her talk. And ever since then, it's like I've been having these dreams. I had a dream about Billie Eilish.
Wow.
I'm like, I'm not, and I don't know. It was just really horrific. There was like a girl in a basement, like I don't know if she was tied up or just like not allowed to leave. And then there was Billie Eilish, and I don't know if she was in the basement too, or if she was one of the captors. So it was just a very strange, right? And like, I don't even know why. I don't listen to her music. I don't watch any videos about her. But I think it's just kind of, I'm tuning into that like creepy Hollywood energy. And then I think just going through a like shadow work, dealing with the negative aspects of yourself, or even anything that was repressed, even back in childhood, will just like come up out of nowhere.
Rear its ugly head. Yeah. And I just posted something like that on Facebook the other day too. Yeah, you're not. Yes. Things are just resurfacing because you've let them go before, but you need to deal with them, so they're resurfacing again.
I mean, it started during after our last show, but it actually started a little bit before that, like a day or two before that, and it's been continuing. And so, I mean, I'm on the upside of it right now. It's just into the thick of the crazy, where it's just like you kind of just feel you kind of get like all these different symptoms of all these different mental disorders all at once, which makes no sense because you have none of them, right? So it's like all of a sudden you're like, you wake up and it's like imposter syndrome. Like, am I living? Where did this life come from? And why am I here? And just all of these really crazy like experiences. And then you're just really mad and you don't want to tolerate like anybody or anything.
And I think
then
a lot
you're,
of
like,
it had to
sad
do
for no
with
reason.
we did that pre-recording for Father's Day too, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't even realize it, and I know you have a lot of feelings about that too. But as far as this thing that I shared this just 2 days ago, it kind of reminds me of like dropping a pebble into a pool of water, whether it's a puddle or a pond or whatever. And it says, healing is done in layers. Situations you thought you cleared are coming up again for more awareness because you thought you cleared it, but you really didn't. You're just like, oh, I'm over this, and didn't really deal with the, down deep sort of issues going on with it. You know what I mean? Which I hate. It's very
Totally.
aggravating, but you have to do
It
it,
is
like you
so
said, to
annoying.
grow. Yeah, you're like, oh my God, I'm so done with you, but yeah, we have to do it.
But yet here we go. Like, for some reason it's flowing to the surface and we have no idea why this is happening. Yes. But the strange part is I feel like I went through a similar experience around the same time last year.
Mm-hmm.
Which is even weirder. Then I'm almost wondering if there's not some sort of a cycle when it comes to these things, or
Well, it's shortly after
maybe
Father's
it is
Day each time.
astrological.
Yeah, it could be astrological
Well,
because there
no,
was a lot of
it was
astrological
a little.
stuff. All
Well,
the
the
Mercury
sun's now
retrograde and
in
everything.
Cancer,
Yeah.
and so that's a water sign. And so Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, whenever the sun changes into those signs, I feel like depending on your astrological chart, it will hit certain people harder than others.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it'll be good and sometimes it'll be bad. For me, I mean, not bad, but just like melancholy, depressing, undermotivated, basically like a dark night of the soul in itself whenever the sun enters that for anyone. Um, but I think that might be also something to do with it. It's just very strange. But anywho, carry on.
Yeah, and you said shadow work. So is this like working with your past shadows, or is this like something more present, like things working through your property?
It's It's all of it. A lot of it. It's all of it and all of it. I think it may have been triggered by external factors.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was triggered on purpose. I like, in a sense that like maybe I feel like sometimes our guides will trigger us if they're like, "Hey, yo, chick, you need to like do something." They'll make you do it, even if it's not comfortable sometimes. It can also be me tuning into energy that's kind of negative, and then this stuff had just resurfaced because of that. Just because, I mean, any little thing can trigger any one of us
Mm-hmm.
at the right time, if that makes sense.
It does. Well, what about you, Lynn? Have you had any extraterrestrial or out of this world sort of stuff going on? Anything paranormal or awakenings?
Well, you know how I am. I'm a ghost hunting guy. As far as Bigfoot goes, I've never had the experience with Bigfoot, not in this world anyway. And as far as ET or aliens or UFOs go, the only thing I know about aliens and UFOs is what I learned from watching the movie Paul. And that's all I'm. As far as paranormal goes, you know some of this story I'm about to go into, Tessa. You can ask any questions you want after I get done with trying to explain what happened. But for everyone else besides you, I was listening to a ghost box session last month. I'm not going to name the show or name anybody's name here. Just listening to it, and I was checking into a little vacation, little out-of-town trip the wife and I wanted to take. And I had two windows open. Well, not windows, tabs open. And was listening to the radio show, not paying a whole lot of attention. They were doing a ghost box session live on Facebook. And I was, like I said, another tab, checking in some New Orleans location where the wife and I both want to go to. It's a place she wants to visit, and it's a place I want to spend about 3 nights on a little ghost adventure doing. Anyway, all of a sudden, over the guy's ghost box, he's on the East Coast, by the way. I'm in Central Time in Arkansas, and the other website was, of course, a hotel in New Orleans. And all of a sudden, I heard staircase, Lafitte, which was the name of the hotel that website I was looking at, Marie, and then stairs, and the word ghost. The picture I was looking at from the Lafitte Hotel, you can see, if you look at it closely, there's an outline of a woman standing on the staircase. And it was, I was looking at this picture, and all of a sudden hearing staircase, ghost, Lafitte, I heard that word too. And I came back over on the other tab. I said, who is saying Lafitte in hotel? And how did you know what I was looking at in another tab on my computer? Because I hadn't asked any questions. And, you know, a lot of times when you're doing ghost box sessions, you type in words you would hear. And I hadn't been doing that. I was obviously in another tab. But how did the spirit that he was picking up on his spirit box, ghost box, know what I was looking at? And the reason Marie was relevant, because it was Marie that had an accident on the stairwell. She was injured. She later died, I believe, tuberculosis in the hotel. And her mother was so distraught, she sealed herself up in the same room where her daughter died, and died in the same room in that hotel. Nikki had picked up about an injury or an accident on the stairwell. She was wondering that she saw it was a woman or a girl that was injured on the stairwell. She didn't die of those injuries, but she was injured on the staircase, and is occasionally seen by guests and people who work at the hotel standing and walking up and down that staircase. Which is why I want to investigate there. I got that to investigate. And this is a Lafitte Hotel, which is not very far from the Lafitte Blacksmith Shop, which is one of the more haunted bars and probably the oldest consecutive running bar in the New World. And it's supposedly where Lafitte made a deal with Andrew Jackson to defend New Orleans in the battle of in the War of 1812, which was held. That battle was 1814, if memory serves. So this goes back and links a whole lot of stuff up, because I have investigated the Andrew Jackson Hotel and have run with the spirits there, and been friends with one spirit.
And it's kind of adding up, because they were connected too. Circles?
Yes, this was kind of amazing because I have so many connections in New Orleans. I've had contacts with the top spirit down there, and I investigated several times. So it's kind of funny. Everything just kind of made a nice tie of it when I wasn't even really in on the Ghost Box session. The guy who was running the show, he couldn't speak for about 4 or 5 minutes. It was just dead air going on his show live. So the only thing he could say was, I don't know what to say about this.
Yeah, just like right now, like
amazing having a spirit circle.
Yeah. And things do connect. There are circles, and we're meant to figure things out. But yeah, just now, I just asked my daughter, come check in my room, see who's in there. I thought there was a dog or something in here, and she's like, there was nothing but like a shadow. And I'm like, well, that's weird because it was moving things around. And she's like, that's creepy as fuck. That room. And the kids' room, too. She doesn't like these rooms. This is the 4th of July free-for-all. We have Mr. Nick on. Nick, welcome. Oh, he's putting his headphones on.
Yeah.
Welcome, Nick. Happy 4th of July weekend. Oh, I can't hear you. I heard... Okay.
If you say anything, I can't hear him either.
Well... Yeah, he might have to figure it out. As soon as we can hear him, we'll bring him back in. But yeah, it's interesting how those things work and how things do work in circles, even though, like, you weren't expecting these things to line up. You already aligned with these spirits over here and made friends. Now you're over here, and come to find out this spirit is connected with this one. It's kind of interesting how that works out in life as in the afterworld as well.
Well, apparently the internet works for the afterlife as well as it does for us, which is an interesting theory in itself.
It is. I don't know. I can't wait for... It seems like we're getting closer and closer to where it's more accepted, but for it to be wholly accepted, I don't think anything ever is really. There's always people on the fence when it comes to stuff, but it's really happening. Even right now, outside of my studio.
Well, Tessa, I'm like this. I don't do this to impress other people. Get a TV show. So, ghosts exist, and the afterlife exists. I'm not in it to prove anything to anybody. I'm basically in it for personal research. I post videos, I post photos that I've taken. Look at this. What do you think? Without saying what it is, because you don't always have the trolls out there, and people you can if you see a picture, how do you know the picture wasn't tampered with, or the video? How do you know it wasn't entirely staged? And there's no way to tell that looking at a video on YouTube or Facebook. It's hard. People can fake anything. It's really hard to tell the difference just watching the video without examining the video or examining photos. And so anybody detractors can always say that was fixed, that was faked, that's not real, and it's really hard to prove that it is. So I just don't worry about proving anything. I just do it for my own research. What happens to me happens to me. I know what happened to me, and I'll tell the stories about what happened to me. Maybe show you a video, show you if I got a shot of it. But I'm not going to argue whether it's real or not with people, and I'm not going to try to prove to skeptics that what's real using a photo. Now, I have, particularly in New Orleans at the old Wax Museum, had a skeptic on a tour one night, and he was following me around a little bit because he knew I was usually got results. And several other people there that night, and he was just looking and observing, kept his mouth shut, and he went downstairs and told the people that hosted the event. He said, "I came in this building as a skeptic. I'm walking out as a believer." Because the guy that's still upstairs, talking about me, because I was the only one upstairs, just proved to me ghosts exist.
Yeah,
and I had a long back and forth conversation, not one word. I would ask a question, he would immediately answer in front of 8, 9, 10 people.
Yeah, something just a minute ago, less than a minute ago, just slammed
like
against my door. Nothing out there.
Really?
Yep. It might have been picked up by the microphone. I don't know if you guys heard it. It was kind of like a crack sort of noise, like something pressing against the door. It's doing it again. And there's nothing out there. Kinsey just checked it for me.
Tessa, I can't hear it. Wow. But while I was talking, you got your picture with a little ring around it that shows when something's coming over your mic.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't you talking, so the microphone was picking up something.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird. I don't want to interrupt though. So, yeah. It's just weird. I don't know why it's picking up right now, but the kids are gone, the old man's gone, Kinsey and her old man are in their room, dog's put away. What the hell's in my room? Messing around with my stuff, trying to get into my office. It's weird because
$1,000,000 question.
Yeah, generally I'm just smoking a vape or whatever because I quit smoking cigarettes and cigars, but then all of a sudden I'm smoking a cigar and it's lighting up the sage that has been in my ashtray, so I don't know if that's kicking something up. Irritating something? I don't know. Because I have little flakes of sage in my ashtray and it's being lit up by my cigar I'm smoking, so I'm wondering if that could be irritating something. I don't know. Well, at least I'm protected in here.
Coming through now?
Yes, you're coming through now. Welcome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, the spirit is a very personal journey. And I think anybody who's looking for proof and evidence all the time just doesn't get it. They don't really understand that part of us that we are first. I mean, we're first spirit beings. And this physical thing is just a temporary stopover. And, share your stories and, people who are capable of hearing are going to hear that and learn from it and, benefit from your experience. My own experience isn't visual or auditory, and that doesn't matter. I don't need to see a ghost. I experience spirit all the time. I sense when there's dark energy, malevolent energy, and I find if it encroaches on me, what I do is, spirit's good or bad, use your imagination, right? And communicate through your imagination. So people who really don't, engage that part of themselves, don't consider their own subconscious, they are very vulnerable and can have their imaginations used against them in so many ways. And, in extreme cases, they call that schizophrenia, when it gets really extreme. And so I find that when I find these malevolent energies encroaching on me, I can very easily take back my imagination and make myself much scarier and much more powerful than them. And they flee. And all the benevolent spirits, I find I can hear them almost clapping and being entertained by the spectacle. So that's my take on the spirit.
Yeah, and you call it imagination, and somebody would call it like open-mindedness or, your third eye. People refer to it as different things. For you, it's your imagination. For others, it's like their third eye or this, I don't know, sixth sense.
I like the clairs. You know, clairsentience, claircognizance, clairvoyance. I mean, that they make sense. I'm not saying that there's one way to look at it, but like mine's mainly claircognizance. That makes the most sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Imagination implies that it's not real, but no, it is real. Our imaginations are real. Our imaginations help visualize things we can't see with our eyes. We use our imaging ability in our minds. So I don't mean to say that our imagination means it. It doesn't mean to say that it's not real. It very much is real, absolutely. But given that your imagination is dynamic and can go in places that you're not familiar with, that's why I use that term, because so many people just don't experience very much of that part of themselves, and so it becomes an uncharted territory. It's one of the reasons people have a hard time believing anything they can't see, smell, or touch.
Well, it's interesting, and I'm going to speak because no one else did. But I had a girl come to me through Four Corners Paranormal, and she's like, I believe, I've always believed, but I've never seen anything. How can I see something? And I'm like, you just have to be open-minded, broaden your horizons, and be aware there are things around you that you don't even realize. Like, you could be walking down the street and somebody could walk past you, and this person could not even be of this realm. It could be of the other world. And so, I guess she worked on that, and it was about a month and a half or so later, and she got back a hold of me, and she's like, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe what just happened. I went to pick up my kid from the daycare center, and she said when I pulled up, there was an old lady in the backyard with all the little kids. And so when I went in, I was talking to the daycare lady, and she said, oh, it's so nice that you got some help. Is your grandma visiting? So on and so forth. And she's like, no, I'm here by myself. What are you talking about? And she said, well, when I pulled up, I saw an old lady in the backyard, and she's like, well, my Nana just passed away. And she pulled out a picture, and she said, was this her? And she's like, yeah, that was her. And so her Nana was there kind of helping her, even though she wasn't aware of it. But this girl actually picked up on it. So she was so excited. She had her very first experience. And that to me was just awesome, that I could help somebody to get there, because, oh my gosh, it's almost impossible for some people.
So true.
Some people feel in different ways too. I met this lady at Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. She was a good. That's her only form of communication. She could not see a spirit. She could not feel a spirit, but she could put up paper and a pencil or a pen and ghostwrite. She would just close her eyes, go into kind of, I guess, a little trance or something, and be writing what the spirit was wanting to say to her. And that was the only way she had to communicate. She couldn't hear it with her ears. And I met her, we had talked, and I always had my echo box on. So she walked over, she said, can you ask for this? She had his name, and I knew he was buried where she was sitting. So I started calling him out by name. He answered and actually was able to talk to her using my device. And I thought she got so weak, I thought she was going to collapse. She said, I've waited so long to hear your voice, and now I can finally hear your voice instead of just writing what you wanted to tell me. It was just a shock to her, and it was one time that I actually helped a fellow paranormal person out. Like, up to that time, that's all she had was her ghostwriting. And any time after that, I was at Bachelor's Grove. She was hanging on to me, wanting to hear stuff, and we actually contacted them again by Echo Box, because she didn't have any equipment whatsoever. And Echo Box worked very well at Bachelor's Grove, contacting the 4 or 5 spirits that were there, whose voices I knew and in whose names I could call out and ask for, because spirits will react to you much more often and much better as far as their attitudes go if you call them out by name. If you've got their name and you can call them out, a lot of times they will answer you. If they know who you are, and if you're a stranger walking in there, not too sure about that. But if you've been into a location a few times, they will try to get to know you one way or the other. At least that's been my experience. How about you, Tessa?
Yeah, it's very true, and a lot of times it takes a few times to be there for the spirit to get used to you. Like, you can go into a place that's super active and get nothing because they don't know who you are unless you bring somebody that owns the place or works there with you. More than likely, they're going to hide out because they don't know who you are. Why are they going to talk to you? You're a stranger. There's no reason for them to do that, so... I've seen cases where people will come in and introduce the team and say, this is who they are. I've asked them to be here. Would you please communicate with them, so on and so forth. But generally, just like a trigger object, it's better to have a person that owns the place, a person that lives there, or a person that works there to be there in order for things to keep going the way they generally do.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on what you just said, Tessa. Well, one instance I remember, I don't know if you've ever heard of Casa Madrid in Chicago. It's an old gangster hideout. It was built with 8 and 10-foot thick walls. It was specifically made in case gangsters got holed up in there to resist the small cannons that the Chicago Police Department had at the time. This is back in the early 20th century. And most police departments have some mortar or cannon or something, just in case it really goes down. And that's been true for over 100 years. And this place was built about 100 years ago. Anyway, for a trigger object, we had the son of the person who used to run the place. And we used him as such. We brought him in, said who he was, said we're trying to open up communications with any spirits here. And let me tell you, we had a busy night. I have video of a shadow figure. I had some lights set up. And they worked like a, as a sensor. If a ghost touches it, the light will go off. But you can see about 3 or 4 lights in the camera, and he was walking between those lights, eclipsing the lights. Sometimes he'd stand there, eclipsing one light, and then move over and eclipse the other light. And it was about a 3-foot tall shadow figure running around there for an hour or two, reacting to the guy we were using as a trigger object. And this is an old brothel from pro times. A guy actually came in there, was going to hold up the this is kind of like the Christian Bale, the Joker movie, when they broke into the mob bank, going to steal from the mob. Guess what? It's not like walking into a normal bank. They're going to shoot at you. Same thing with a bar. You walk into a mob bar, when the bartender reaches down, you think they're about to open the cash register. No, she pulled out a gun and shot him, killed him with one shot. Boom, dropped him right there in the room, and we were in the room behind where he got dropped. So it was a shadow figure who never identified himself. Was he the criminal who got shot trying to rob a mob place? Was it the man's relative that we had there as a trigger? Was it his relative, or was it some other mob person, or was it a former prostitute from the brothel there? They never identified themselves, but I got several minutes of video of a shadow figure walking back and forth in front of the lights. And you can kind of see the outline of the shadow figure.
You think he was like guarding the place, or what?
I don't say this is proof of the afterlife. He could have been guarding the place. We also, as a trigger object that night, do you remember the show, The Paranormal Cops?
I believe so. I don't think it lasted very long, did it?
One of the first, it didn't last very long. It was one of the first paranormal shows. Because it was on before Ghost Adventures, before Ghost Hunters. This was kind of the forerunner to all of them. And we actually had them as guests. And this was a place they had investigated 2 or 3 times. So we kind of used them as trigger objects too. Going in, they old faces, and we talked with them for a while, and then we went back to investigating, and it was active all night long in this place. Voices, footsteps, things going thump in the dark. Of course, we're talking about a huge place. This was not a house brothel. This was practically some of the walls are 8 to 10 feet thick. And some of them obviously had bars taken out from where they could actually, in the size of a closet, imprison some people, I guess, if they were unruly or whatever. They don't know to this day just how many people went in there. They were either enemies of the mob, they squealed on the mob, or just stolen money from the mob. How many people actually died in that building?
You better not be a rat.
That building twice. Exactly. Take our gold as an employee, or take our lead or as a squealer. Well, you don't steal from the mob.
No.
I got a strong connection with the mob in Chicago because of that. Bruno Rodi, I investigated where his funeral was, and actually helped kind of convert him and release some spirits he had taken of and put him in an old bar there that used to where his funeral was. It was a funeral home for many years before it was a bar for a few years, and now it's being rebuilt. The whole building is, and we wanted to kind of calm things down so the building wouldn't be haunted. So we went in there and kind of calmed him down and changed his point of view. He didn't want to go the other side because he killed many people. He was he wasn't. This was trying to think of the words. Extorted money. He would threaten to blow up your house unless you gave him money. He finally got caught. He told a man, "You give me $10,000." This is in the 1920s now. $10,000 was like $45,000, $50,000 now, or more. And he said, "If you call the police, I'm gonna blow up your house. You don't give me money, I'm gonna blow up your house." Well, the police, and Bruno Rodi blew up his house, but the police caught him doing it, and he served a couple of years for that, and Capone got him out because he was Capone had 2 people who made bombs for him, and this was one of them. And another connection I have with the mob in Chicago, the car they gave him drive, he'll be my wife, for those of you who don't know. The cars, there's no show, they don't really show what they did. You have cars, you go there, and all of a sudden you got this huge warehouse full of cars, and I mean, second, 4, 5, 6-year-old cars, they start at $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 and go up from there. You know, running races, a bit of horses, and then driving that car for
There's a lot of stuff there that I don't know. It's just like Kyle and Space Hot, but I think we're still the same. There are some people out there that care that you're talking about. No, we have to go to our first break. On this break, we have Caitlin Hay from Ontario, Canada, and she's young and she's very talented. You can check her out on YouTube. She's got all kinds of different videos out there. The first song she's going to sing is Collapse, and then she's going to sing Nothing But Blood, Close, and then we got Mr. Fred on third with Sugar. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this musical break.
Yeah, we're gonna crash. How is this gonna last? When we always got you're going too fast, fast, fast. About gas. Yeah, we're gonna crash. How is it gonna last? We always collapse. Stop. When we always collapse. When we always collapse. Of my game again, not with bend. You're making me soft. Starting to slip, you don't give a shit. It's starting to hurt. Can't keep my grip. Yeah. Oh, I can see the end begin. I can see. Yeah, we're going too fast. Get your foot off the gas. Yeah, we're gonna crash. How is this gonna last? When we always collapse. Yeah, we're going too fast. Get your foot off the gas. Yeah, we're gonna crash. How is this gonna last? When we always collapse. When we always collapse. Oh, I can see the end begin. When we always collapse. Oh, I can see the end begin. There's too much sky, too blue, too white. The birds on the wire are singing, but I don't know why. Why aren't the roses hanging their heads? They're standing straight up, blooming instead. Now that we're apart, there's an why does that guy have a smile on his face? Why is sun shining today? Why are the headlines go? Don't they all know what happened to us? Now that we're apart, there's nothing but blood in my heart. Blood in my heart. first time in a while. Seem so proud, I smile. Strange, yeah, we're on the way. You push me away, my life, but still back here. See me, follow me, baby, just follow me, trust me, baby, get close to me, you know how to make me lose all control, all control. Better the devil, you know. 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 Waiting here on this cold, lonely night without you. The tension's overbearing. Wondering, are you coming back home again? To inspire fondness with love. Where did our love go wrong? My sugar. Why did I make you cry? Whispers flow through my mind when I think about you. That warm feeling in me. My heart sings a sad song and just melts away. Please look into my eyes, my sugar. This life is not fair. Until the sun doesn't shine anymore, I'll be there. When time is a memory, I'll know this love. You will always be the one, my sugar. The feeling is so strong. Waiting here on this cold, lonely night without you. Where did our love go wrong, my sugar?
Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining us tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we have Mr. Len Dorman, who just had his #1 shot for this evening. Woot woot! Then we have Miss Mea Savage, dealing with a hangover from shadow working. And then we have Mr. Nick, who's over there with all a bundle of energy, vacuuming out the couch and so on and so forth. Welcome back, guys, and thanks for showing up for the 4th of July Paradox Paranormal 4th of July free-for-all.
Let freedom ring.
How is your first?
Okay.
You know, so
Go ahead, Mea. You first, and then Lynn.
Tessa?
Because, like Lynn said, ladies first. Yes?
I just, that was like a momentary, like, mental lapse, what? Not like a, or like, wait, not a what? Oh, see, that's where my brain is at. Okay. So that was a mental lapse, wait, to myself, because I was like, wait, let freedom ring, that's not an Independence Day thing. That's more like that's completely different. And I just foot in mouth there anyway.
I think it is. I think Let Freedom Ring is a 4th of July thing. Except for me. I'm just kidding.
I thought it was more like a
It's Independence Day. No, it's Independence Day, so it's like us being free from the Britons and such.
That's when we song, though.
Well, yeah, Independence Day, talking about breaking free from, I think, an abusive family sort of thing. Let freedom ring, let the white dove sing. Today is a day of reckoning. Let the song be heard. Let the white bird soar, or something. Yeah, it's Independence Day, like it's a day of freedom. For us, it was freedom from basically Britain, you know, Queen Elizabeth, so on and so forth. Like back in the day, whoever was ruling that parliament, the whole Boston Tea Party and all that stuff happened around it. I think it's meant different things throughout the years, but that's how it originated.
King George III.
Yes. But yeah, that's where the British are coming. The British are coming, you know, yeah, so many things going on along with that. We were tired of the shenanigans of the hierarchy, and we decided to do our own thing. To break free from that. To resist tyranny and oppression. And, yeah. Go back into it again. Here we go. Whee! No. But, yeah. It originally started as that. To be able to bear arms and, you know, protect yourself and your family, even against the government. The government used to not be higher than us. We were above the government, and we still are supposed to be. So you guys need to remember that.
Indeed. Let's just get an island. We'll create our own government.
You were talking about that too. You're looking into some of that. I would like to invest. I might invest a quarter at a time, but I'm down.
I'll keep you updated, but I have been looking into that for sure.
So what are you guys' plans for the 4th of July? Mia, you said you were working, and I'm like, really? You shall be working on the 4th of July. Do you have any other plans? Are you going to barbecue? You going to do the slip and slide into your big-ass pond? Any plans for the 4th?
Well, I was invited to possibly just go for like a razor ride, but I don't know why, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not with my significant other's family. It would be a nice thing to do, but it just depends on my mental state at that time if I want to be around that amount of people in the woods or not. Pretty much.
I think you might be resistant to it, but I think you should do it. You should just do it. And if it turns out bad, just go do your own thing in the woods and hug a tree or something.
Well, if I do go, it's going to be like, there's going to be like 4 razors and you just follow each other on a path or whatever. And it just depends. It depends on how I'm feeling, because I don't want to ruin Ross's day with his family. It's not my family, it's his family. So I don't think they're going to miss me much. There'll just be one extra seat for someone. And honestly, sometimes I just can't handle it. Like, there was another year, we did the same thing, and I don't know what happened. I just started, like, having anxiety, and I couldn't be around everyone. I'm sensitive sometimes, and when I'm not in the correct position, I don't like to be around groups. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think maybe... Okay, if you work out a deal with Ross and say, hey, if we do this, can we be in the front so that way you're not picking up on everybody's energies and you're in the lead and you're not having, all that backlash. I don't know. It could still have some negative effects, but I think if you guys are in front instead of following, that might be better, because then you're not getting the whole wave of everybody's
Possibly.
negativity or whatever else going on.
Right? I didn't think about that before, but yeah, it's just there was a time where we did it once, and I don't know what came over me. I just like freaked out, like mentally. On the inside, I didn't really talk to him about it. I just was very, very silent. I was just like, felt like I was gonna die for no reason. It's like this really strange thing. And it was probably last year around the same time, now that I think of it, right when I was going through probably a similar thing, which makes very little sense, but I guess it makes sense. I'm not sure.
I'm picking up a cycle. So I saw Sleepy Dave was in here, but he was muted. Are you in here, Mr. Jason Davenport? Diecast Dave? No? Did he go away? Yep, I guess he did. I don't see him anymore. Well, as far as me, I don't know what we're doing. Dave. Yeah, he wasn't here, and then he just went somewhere else, I guess. I'll message him and see what's going on, but yeah, Vern's like, what do you want to do for our anniversary? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's just not a good anniversary because it should be a family time, and anniversaries, I think, should be happening on other times, and it's always just been weird and awkward. Like, it's never worked out the way it should. And I put out my ideas of what I want to do in the past, and those never worked out because, you know, going to Ouray is too expensive. And I'm like, whatever. So, okay, Durango canceled their fireworks. I'm wondering if Bayfield is still going to do theirs. Have you heard anything about that, Mia? I want to look it up, but I don't want to lose these ghost stories I was going to tell you guys.
I am not sure. I do know that we are out of fireworks, and typically we just buy some from New Mexico and just light them off here.
Maybe we should just do that. I don't want to piss off Ross.
No, are you kidding me? It's his idea. He's the one that does it typically every year. But we didn't go to Mexico and buy them this year, so we are out of fireworks.
Yeah, and I think one of the main ones that we usually go to burnt down last year, or went up in a flaming blaze of glory.
Wait, what? Oh, one of the fireworks? Really?
Yeah, one of the fireworks stands down in
I was
Farmington.
about to ask you about that, Tessa.
Yeah.
The fireworks stand went off?
Yeah, it did. It was last year, I think, right around or just after or just before the 4th of July. One just went up in a blaze of glory. But yeah, I think that there is one off the side of the road that is sometimes open that we generally get our stuff from. And they're a better price than the big wig ones that have the big top and everything. But yeah, they got some really good ones down there, even though we're all in drought. I guess it's just worse for us because we have things that can bang.
We have the fire.
We have a big tent.
Yeah.
Do we have like a no burn thing going on right now?
We did, and then we got that few days of rain. So I don't know if that helped at all.
Same.
Shit. Let me try to copy this link and then. Yes, I'll send it to
Tessa,
myself.
you're normally my moral compass. Since we're not having a local fireworks show here in Star City, there is a tent that's selling fireworks. I was thinking about going down there one night and just setting the tent on fire. Do you think this would be ethical?
As your attorney, I would advise against it and tell you to take a couple of those.
Only if you take their money.
Only if you have an insurance agreement. Just kidding.
Money.
No, I would advise against it.
Take all the fireworks, blow up the bank.
Oh no.
I don't know. Don't do that. Don't even think about it. Don't think about any of those things.
You know what, though? That brings up a good point. We were talking about how government is supposed to be our servant, and right now it seems to be acting like our boss.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know how you absolutely neuter the government and take away all of their power? Is you blow up the dollar. Get rid of that dollar. That's what holds the whole world hostage, is that godforsaken, blood-soaked dollar.
Mia was right. Set it off in the bank.
Yep. Just get rid of it. Just drop it. We don't have to arrest anybody. We don't have to do anything except totally drop their dollar. They lose all of their power over us. It is totally not only lawful but also perfectly legal for you to print your own currency, a unique currency that's not pretending to be another currency, but it's its own unique currency. And if you have somebody who's willing to give you their goods in exchange for that currency, that is perfectly lawful and legal. And we can do that. We can take over this whole world by printing our own dollar and telling them to take their dollar right back to hell where it crapped out of.
Where?
On what you're talking about, I believe it's the state of Iowa. I think, don't quote me here, but they are issuing their own currency.
Awesome.
The difference with it is there's a thread of gold in each bill.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the one has a smaller thread than the 5. Of course, the 10 has a bigger thread, and a 20 has an even bigger thread. In other words, it's based on gold because you're actually trading gold when you have one of their bills. Because it's got, it varies in value. It's got the value, the base value, printed on the paper, but it's kind of a plastic paper. Keeps the people from counterfeiting it. But it varies in trade with the dollar bill on the price of gold. Of course, it's going to go up against the dollar if gold goes up.
So I'm looking here.
Right now, gold's pretty high, so those actually worth money.
Yeah, if we have as much gold as they say we have, but I think they've been fibbing. But it says here that we are supposed to have a 4th of July celebration in Bayfield, and there's going to be a band playing that's coming in from out of state, and they're called Third and Long Band. So I'm wondering, should we kamikaze call these guys and see if they're actually coming for the 4th of July? I don't know. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
You think so? One for I?
Yeah, sounds like a winner to me.
Okay. This might take a minute. Alright, let's continue on with our conversation. But as far as gold goes, like, supposedly the gold isn't, there's really not as much gold out there as they say there is. It makes you wonder, is this all just a farce?
It is a farce. The only thing that actually has real intrinsic value is people, specifically their labor. Gold is just dirt that's refined. You know, and how do you take dirt and turn it into gold? It's with people and their talents and their energy. That's what gives everything value. And that's what we need to remember. That's how we can fix this world, is we start jumping for joy for each other as much as we do now for a pile of money. Because it's people that give anything value. And that's what we need to remember. Also, fiat currency is just fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Economies throughout history have been facilitated very nicely with fiat currency. It's okay to peg your currency to a commodity, but if the powers that be own that commodity, then there's no benefit. So all you got to do is have transparency. You have people working for people instead of people working for corporations. That's what can change things.
Yeah, we're in a pretty crazy place right now, I must say.
What Nick has a point.
Mm-hmm.
What we call a job today, that job is only the word job, and having a job and actually going to work with a company like Amazon or Walmart, name your company here, it's been around for a long time. It's only been around for maybe 100, 125, 130 years. Before that, everybody sold their own. They made brooms and sold brooms. They made buckets, sold buckets. They made barrels and sold barrels. Like Nick was saying, the labor, they went in and did labor in exchange for something, a cow or whatever they needed, whatever they wanted to swap and trade for. They actually going to work and saying, I'm going to come in every day at 9 o'clock and I'm going to work to 5 o'clock every day, 5 days a week or 6 days a week for you. That's all a new concept. Maybe 125. Before that, everybody was their own entrepreneur. You either sold whatever you made or whatever you grew in your front yard, or maybe you had a little shop downtown, a hardware store, or a fruit stand, a vegetable stand, whatever you sold it, and you were your own boss. Your helpers were either your spouse or your kids. You didn't have employees. That's a whole new concept. People think that's the way to go. That's the way the world works. It worked for a very long time with not that many people actually had a job. You had people under contract. Some people say, "Well, if I ship you over to the new world, you got to be a servant of mine for 2 years or 3 years before I set you free." That was done. But to go to work and go to work in your place of business and never even see the owner and working for some supervisor with 50, 60, 100 other people, that was just not heard of 150 years ago. What they'd say, what the hell are you talking about? Work to me is hitting the farm and growing my corn and then sitting here selling the corn downtown. That's what this job thing is kind of new.
Yeah, it is very different because I think a lot of people got to, due to COVID, they got used to not working, used to collecting unemployment, used to having a more laid-back life, and then it's like, all right, time to go back out to the workforce, and they're like, not gonna do it, I don't wanna. So they're taking as much as they can from, all the different payments and then the unemployment, so on and so forth, and I don't know, it's just a big old mess. I think everybody's gotten lazy and complacent.
Well, some of them are holding out for an actual living wage. Some of them had time to go apply for other jobs. Like, I know one person, she was a waitress in a restaurant, and of course she hasn't been working that many hours with COVID. It's not too far from you. That's in Kansas, about halfway between me and you, Tessa. Anyway, she left her waitress job and she starts at Amazon. What's today? Friday. It's on a Saturday. She actually starts July 4th. July 3rd is her first day at Amazon. So this is her first real job, and she spent the time where she wasn't working in the restaurant, where she was a waitress, applying for jobs and got one. And that's what a lot of these people are doing. They're trying to better themselves. And why should go to work for $10 an hour, or for like a waitress where you work only making a couple bucks an hour plus tips, when all of a sudden you can be making pretty good bucks. She hasn't released her salary, but I'm guessing it's probably $15, $16, $17 an hour at least starting out at Amazon.
Yeah.
And I don't fault anybody for improving themselves.
Yeah.
If you're working for minimum wage and somebody offers you a job for $15 an hour, or 16 or 17, whatever, 25 if you're lucky, go for it. Just walk away from that other job.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because, I've heard the same about Amazon workers as I do about airport workers that are directors of the planes and, control tower workers. There's a very high turnover and a very high suicide rate. And it just makes you wonder about the work environment and what's going on there. So I hope she likes it and something she really enjoys. Otherwise, I'm kind of scared for her from what I've seen in the past of other people that have worked there.
Yeah, I've worked in factories before when in my younger days. I was actually young once, and it's monotonous. You go in at the same time every day, sweating for 8 hours. You go home, you're tired. You go to bed, you get up, you eat a meal, go back to work. It's monotonous and can get to you after a while. So I could understand that part too. But if you've got to work, and her father recently died, as in about 2 weeks ago. So she's having to support herself now. So she's not in a position where she can just, I'm quitting working and going home, because she apparently has taken over her dad's house, where his Social Security was paying the electric bill and the water bill. Guess who's responsible for the water bill, the electric bill, and et cetera now? She is. And she wasn't going to be able to pay all that as a waitress.
It's a lot, and things aren't getting cheaper. Food, gas, everything is going up.
Yes, you're right. You're having inflation with cost and food prices, and it's going to get worse this summer. You've heard me predict things before. There's another one. We're going to have food inflation, and we're going to due to transportation problems. Right now, we're having a delivery problem. Amazon, some of the Walmart, some of the other places are having a hard time delivering stuff. We had the stuff. Heck, for the last 2 or 3 years, there's been ships. At one point, we had the largest fleet ever assembled sitting off our west coast, outside San Francisco, outside Los Angeles, outside San Diego, outside Portland, outside Seattle. Was sitting in one of the largest fleets the world's ever seen, waiting to get said ports to unload. Those ports have been full for a while, and the truckers have been working. And now, then with COVID, of course, you had problems in the ports. You had the truckers having their own issues, and right now you're having a delivery problem. They're on the West Coast. They've been delivered from China, but you're having a delivery problem. You're running out of stuff. Ford had to cancel building a car because they couldn't get a chip that goes in one of the car's computers. That, of course, came from China, so they had a logistics problem of getting it there and being able to put it in the car. So that's the problems facing us right now. And with food, you've had farmers cutting back, and with the floods we had down here, they had to replant the entire corn crop here in southern Arkansas. And we're talking about delaying a month to buy decent priced corn here, even from the Amish, because their fields got flooded just like everybody else's. Now the soybeans got hurt also. The rice, which is the number one cash crop here in Arkansas, of course, is not affected by flooding because half the time the rice fields are flooded anyway. So we're probably going to have a bumper crop of rice. But we're going to be struggling, and it may be a month to 6 weeks late being harvested. And my wife and I both like corn on the cob, and we pick up a couple of bushels and put it in the freezer. And so we have corn all winter and into the spring. I'm hoping the squash, because the local guy grows a lot of yellow squash, and my wife and I both love squash and onions. Because I'm talking food, and everybody's going to be getting hungry now.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do, I just slice the squash up, and then cut the onion up into rings and break the rings up, and then fry them up together. and it is very yummy. You just add your own spices. I just make it with no spices whatsoever. It is very, very yummy. I'm hoping the squash fields didn't get too badly damaged, and we can pick up some nice yellow squash in another 6-8 weeks here, so I can make some squash and onions, because we usually buy a whole case when they're on sale. We put up a couple bushels of corn, quite a bit of squash and onions, and that's what I eat during the winter, along with the soups. Of course, beef's a tad expensive here. Corn's more expensive than Illinois.
Right.
Cheap corn.
Go ahead, Nick.
Do what, Nick?
You guys know that they still pay farmers to turn over their crops and not grow food, right? They do that.
Yeah.
If farmers could...
That's another problem. I didn't mention that.
If farmers were allowed to grow as much food as they could, there would be so much food, the price would actually drop. So when you're talking about food inflation, it's just like in 1920 when they artificially created the Depression. It wasn't just, we couldn't stop the market from crashing. Nothing we can do. It's a depression. No, they caused the Depression. They're causing food shortages. And they're causing,
I know one of the main causes right now, if you don't know, it's Mr. Bill Gates. He's buying up all of the farmland.
Well, he's the front man for that. Yeah, it's not Bill himself. He's just a puppet. But we have technology now that quintupled production capacity and then quintupled it again. And still, what do they do? Do they reduce our work week? Do they reduce our work hours? No. If anything, they make us work harder and just put a whole bunch of people out of work because they have automation now. They don't need as many people. Well, what does that tell us? That we're being replaced instead of freed by the technology. And this is something that another thing that requires our consent to go along with it. Go ahead.
Right. I'm agreeing with what you're saying. In the past 100 years, we've been constantly on these. Every time a new machine is invented, and now, of course, it's computers and computer capacity being invented, more capacity hard drives, more capacity chips, better Windows. That makes everybody more efficient. And companies just don't need the farm workers. They don't need the factory workers. They don't need the, used to run a major insurance company, for example, you had to have a 25, 30-story building that was just covered with people on desk. The phones start ringing at 7 o'clock in the morning and don't stop at 6 o'clock at night, and sometimes even later. People just sitting at their desk all day long, answering the phone, selling or catching complaints about insurance. Now, so much of that's online. You don't need a huge office building to run a big insurance company anymore. You don't need all those desks. You don't need all that floor space. You don't need the people. We've been replaced by machines 100 years ago. 50 years ago, we were replaced by more efficient machines, bigger machines. And now we're being replaced piece by piece by better, more efficient computers and more efficient programming, where there's not that many people needed to run a very nice size company as far as money handled people. You can get, 4, 5, 6 good laptops or a couple of desktops, and hell, you can run a country.
Híjole! I need a siesta after that.
I totally agree with what Nick just said.
Yeah, totally.
What Nick just said in his little rant there, I totally agree with him. I have no.
Well, and it kind of all goes together because even before Bill Gates started buying up all of these crops, this farmland, so on and so forth, before that, we had Monsanto going on, and we have people purchasing that, aka Bill Gates, where these seeds that you plant and they produce things don't produce seeds. The only people that can have seeds anymore that will grow will be these companies, and unless you buy them from these companies, you shall not grow seed-bearing plants. Like, this to me is a cardinal sin. Like, this goes against everything that man originally on this earth believes in. Like, to me, this is insanity. Exit stage left, stage right even. I'm so over this. Like, why does this even make sense to anyone? Why is this happening? World control and dominance.
Sustainable. Now, I'll tell you something about, and this is not QAnon. I don't go along with that group. I don't pay attention.
No, fuck those guys.
They say. What I do listen to is people who are in the know. There are 2 or 3 major companies. A couple of them have very similar names. Rock and Stone. They're Wall Street companies. They are buying household real estate left and right. People who are out buying a home nowadays are competing with these companies, and we're talking about multi-billion-dollar companies, to buy their house. They are running the price up, so only they can. Their goal is to become the largest home real estate owner in the country. And they're fast getting there. Right now, the largest landowner in the country is, of course, the government, United States of America. They own more of the United States than anybody. Second, of course, is the Catholic Church. So you're talking about controls there. But they want to be number 3 in owning houses and areas where you can build houses. And I know this because I listen to people that's in the real estate market and in Wall Street, and the fact that 5 years ago, plus a couple of months, Gail and I bought this house that I'm sitting in right now from that company. Yeah, I had to get on the phone and negotiate. Fortunately, I lived in Chicago for 14 and a half years. I could learn to negotiate with big city jerk-offs, excuse my French. And I got talking to a Wall Street banker and negotiated the price for this house we live in and got a good price for it. But they are buying real estate all over the United States, basically so they can either resell it at a profit or rent it out.
Well, and I heard also...
We're going to have a... Go ahead.
I heard also recently that, originally it started in Hawaii, and a lot of Japanese and other people from out of this country were buying land over there for Airbnb, so on and so forth. Before Airbnb happened, these are, spots where you can make your money back. Buku. Now they're doing it over here too. They're buying up all the properties so they can do Airbnbs and other things like that. And it's not people from this country, it's from people out of the country that don't even have I don't know, I want to say passports, but even a right to even be here. They're just buying it from across the sea so they can set up their own companies and go that direction. Like, they're taking everything out from underneath us, and even our subdivisions are becoming like lower income properties, which I do at some point agree. We do need low income housing because the homeless effect is very hardcore. Unless we have low income housing, then our whole populace is basically screwed because we have to deal with it anyways. But for them to go into subdivisions, that's a totally different thing. So there's so many different things that go against our rights and what we've believed in for so long, as far as white picket fences, so on and so forth. Like, your future dream, living in a subdivision, white picket fences, all of a sudden there's a 20-story apartment complex next to you. I think there's a certain place for certain things, and I do agree that we do need low-income housing, but I don't think these two things should collude. I think they should be in different areas as they always really have been. I don't know, that's a lot, but yeah, this is happening right now.
I kind of go along. Right. This all, well, a lot of it's been happening for a couple of decades. America has been for sale, and a lot of Chinese companies and private individuals have been buying a lot of it. The Blackstone and BlackRock I was talking about, they're buying houses left and right. What is it a big conspiracy that are forcing us, to sell them their homes? No, we're selling them. The Chinese come over, make a fair market value price. You can't blame people for selling an asset. I mean, Gail and I don't have any place else to live. If we did and somebody offered a fair price for this house, we're gone. But that fair price is going to be quite high since we have nowhere else to go. But if you own an asset, you can't blame people for selling. You can't pass laws against somebody selling private property. You're talking about buying real estate. You know one of the largest farm owners is in this country? We've all seen their commercials on
Tyson?
TV.
Is it Tyson?
You've seen these commercials? No, they own all the chicken places. The illegal chicken pluckers I told you about.
Boston markets?
There's 2 plants in this county.
I'm just trying to guess. You said guess. I'm trying to guess. That's my second one is Boston.
Okay. No, this is one you see all the time on TV. TIAA. You see in their commercials where they guarantee you so much income for life, retirement income. They're an investment company. Gail's retirement plan is with them. She still has from when she worked at Northwestern University. And they are one of the largest farm owners in the country. They own, here in Arkansas alone, they own a quarter to a third. There's not really broadcast how many acres they own. They own a quarter to a third of all farmland in the state of Arkansas, Mississippi, and Louisiana, and Alabama. They are, TIAA feeds America. And they govern, who grows what, how much stuff they grow. They got their thumb on the scales. TIAA can basically tell the farmers what to grow, what not to grow, how much to sell it for. And Nick said a while ago, if we let every farmer grow their even 90%, even 80, 85 capacity of what they could grow, we could feed the entire planet. There's about 8 billion of us on this planet. We could feed everyone with American farming techniques and the efficiency we have with our machines and the know-how we have in farmers' head. We feed the world. Why don't we do it? There's no money in feeding the world.
I'm doing it this year. I'm doing pumpkins. I'm doing watermelons. I'm doing cantaloupe. I'm growing little cucumbers that are pickle-sized cucumbers and dill, as well as 2 different kinds of tomatoes. I think there's one more that I always forget. But, yeah, I have my own little garden growing. If we all did that, like we could all make an impact on what's going on here, and we wouldn't have to depend on truckers and marketplaces, so on and so forth, for our food. I, in the past, used to grow zucchini and yellow squash. Oh my gourd, Lynn, these things get out of control very, very quickly. So this year I'm bypassing that. I might do that next year because it always grows more than I need and I can't sell or get rid of enough of it. It goes to waste and it makes me feel bad. But yeah, it's so nice to have fresh grown stuff.
Yeah. I've already talked. Remember a few months ago, I talked with you and Nikki about a vision that I had.
Yeah.
I have talked to two neighbors, and one of them has a tractor, and they want to put it off doing anything. They don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Nobody wants to get in front of their skis. But we've talked about basically sealing this neighborhood off. And I'm slowly burning off about three acres of our 4 acres, where one guy's got a tractor. And so we've discussed, if he got down to it and worst came to worst, we sit there and put the plow to about 3 of the 4 acres that Galen and I own, and have a 3-acre community garden, because both of their lots, they don't have 4 cleared acres. The fact that I sold the timber of our property a couple of years ago, was burn the leftovers, and I've got 4 acres with a house on it and about 5 or 6 trees. The rest of it could be cleared, maybe put some either fertilizer or put a little extra topsoil on there, and we've got a 3-acre farm, and that's what I'm slowly evolving to here. Is perhaps managing, since I can't do a whole lot of work at my age, a 3-acre farm here, and it's having people who help me out planting it and growing it and harvesting it. Well, we just got 4 or 5 neighbors all together, and we're eating out of that 3.5 acres. So if it gets that bad, we'll plow up my front yard. And the neighbor across the street said if it gets really bad, he'll gladly plow up about 3/4 of an acre he's got for a front yard. So that's something we could do. We don't know who owns the property behind mine. They recently sold all the timber and cut it down. That's in the last couple. So right now, we've got about 4 or 6, it's an even number, maybe 6 lots that are 1 acre wide by 4 acres deep behind me, who's had the timber cut down. So if whoever owns that property, which backs up against mine, decide we're going to grow our own food. If we was working with them, we may have 10 acres, 10, maybe 12 acres back there, because there's no houses on any of those lots, teamed up back to back with 3 of mine. And that's quite a few acres. That will feed 3, 4, 5, 6 households for a year. Just in corn, squash, some beans.
Tomatoes.
The basics. Well, you can grow tomatoes in a 5-gallon bucket. And I got plenty around my carport. I could put 5-gallon buckets. I got a refrigerator I'm hollowing out right now. Then I'm going to put on a couple of cinder blocks out there, put some wood in, so it slowly rot and enrich the soil, and put some planting soil in the fridge itself, and probably grow tomatoes or squash out of it.
Yeah, raised gardens are pretty big this year, and I actually did one in the yard. We tilled it up, and then I started to go through it and get all the weeds and shit out of there, and it was just mostly weeds. So I threw out the old dirt and put in like 6 or so bags of new dirt and did a garden in there, and hopefully, like, with as moist as I am keeping it and everything, like, it will grow into the ground. But I have, like I said before, dill, cucumbers, tomatoes, watermelons, cantaloupe, and pumpkins growing. Otherwise, I'm just like, maybe I could take the tomatoes out, because it is kind of cramped, and like you said, just put them in a 5-gallon bucket and let them grow over there. And I could move these dill plants too, and all these squash sort of plants can grow as much as they need to, because they need a lot of room.
Yeah, they do. And one of the neighbors down here, we have quite a few deer in the area. He knows how to skin a deer, process a deer, and cut it up to, for a cookable side. Get the roast, the ribs, name your body part here. He knows how to do all that. And hey, I have 2 deer that are getting kind of grown now. I've watched them since they were not quite newborns, but they hadn't been walking too long the first time I watched them grow up here on my property. So one's a male, one's a female. I'm hoping they just keep on selling on my property because nobody hunts on my property. Shoots a deer on my property.
No, not till you need to. Yeah. We don't need to scare them away till we need to hunt some. Then we'll hunt some. But until then, y'all better leave our deer alone.
Mm-hmm. They just get a little startled when I either burn some stuff out here or I will go back to a bunch of small tree line shooting range and start firing either my pistol or my shotgun. That gives them a start.
Yeah. Well, they might get so used to it that once you do start shooting for sport or, to get that food, they might be so used to it that they don't even run away anymore, which would be nice.
Yeah. Gail has to look both ways when she pulls in and out, going back and forth to work. Because during the spring, not so much now, they're in the shade, but in the spring and then back in the fall, I like to sleep about 4 or 5 yards from my driveway. And I think I've told you what kind of car I've got. The former mob car is 2006 Dodge Magnum with a 425 horse 6.1 engine in it.
Yeah.
So, which means it's got a natural, real dual exhaust, and it rumbles. They hear that thing rumbling, and they usually wake up, and she starts driving out the driveway. They'll usually jump out of their bed, but now they'll only walk away 3 or 4 feet away from the driveway and watch her when she leaves. They'll sit there and stare at the car that it goes down the hill, down the road from the house, which is hilarious to sit on my front porch and watching these deer, watching her leave. They're all their attention's on the car. They have no idea I'm standing on my porch watching them.
Mm-hmm. Little did they know. Well, on that note, Lynn, Mia, and Mr. Nick, we did have Sleepy, but I think we lost him. We are going to go to our second music break. On this break, we have Miss McKaylin Hay from Ontario, Canada. She's going to be singing Gravity, Pins and Needles, as well as Mirror. And Gravity, she will be singing with Extra Kid in F51. So she's going to be collabing on that one. This girl is so young and so talented. She even has her own music videos, so you can check her out on YouTube. Miss McKaylin Hay, and it's MIKALYN Hay, Hay, on YouTube. And then, of course, we have Mr. Fred Johnson III from Canyon County, California, who is my very favorite, and he's going to be singing After Dark. This break is exactly 13 minutes and 47 seconds. If you need to set a timer for hitting the head, getting something to eat or drink, or just get a breath of fresh air, we'll see you back here after this music break.
Signs I leave behind for you Talking on pins and needles, every word through a microscope. You keep stomping down on the ground while I've been stuck on this tightrope. I just wanna say what I wanna say without your sentence. I'm not willing to do the time when I'm innocent, and I'm innocent. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. Walked on my share of thin ice with your blowtorch at my feet. You won't ever see me beg, so take this tongue off your leash. I'm gonna say what I wanna say, don't need permission. Interpret it how you want, it's my decision. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. Dancing on shattered glass, kicking the pieces all around. My safety has been broken, this is now a hunting ground. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna this. I don't really wanna forget to forget you. Taught me how to turn a blind eye. I showed you how to keep your shoulder cold. No one walked away without a scar. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. You taught me how to turn a blind eye. I showed you how to keep a shoulder cold. No one walked away without a scar. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror.
My driver pulls up in my limousine, ready to take me anywhere I want to be. I say, I want to go. Take me to a college scene. I'd like to go and dance, have drinks, and hunt the perfect day. Yeah. Living at the dark, I search lonely streets to find hidden shadows in the dark. It doesn't matter what I say. Secret homicides arranged in a series of pursuits. No matter what I say, after dark, I gave her face because she had the range. I knew she was the one that never could go home again. Plastic lights like limo seats. I don't know why I can't control this urge to hurt again. Yeah. Living at the dark, I search lonely streets to find hidden shadows in the dark. It doesn't matter what I say. Changes in the sky, murder forever after. No matter what I say, after dark. Feeling meant to forget me. Behind the place with gifts of December. Concerning works or in the manage. It doesn't matter what I say. It really doesn't. No matter what I say, after dark. It doesn't matter what I say. Secret homicides arranged in a series of pursuits. No matter what I say, changes in the sky, murder forever after. It doesn't matter what I say. Rude and fatal, lacking the hint of conscience. No matter what I say, after dark.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining us tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we are doing a 4th of July free-for-all. So we have Mr. Nick in. Man, I don't even recall what Nick's last name is. What is your last name, Nick?
Weston.
Nick Weston. And then we have Mr. Len Dorman, and I think we have Miss Mea Savage, but she might be cuddling the phone and sleeping. Because it has been a long week, I must declare. Between murder trials and farming and so on and so forth, it's been insane. Oh yeah, and shadow hunting. But one of the things that I wanted to do this evening was to read some ghost stories to you guys. So I have 3 particular ones, 3 true ghost stories for your next backyard campfire. And these spooky tales will make you feel like you're out in the backwoods, almost, because we're not quite there. We're listening to the radio. Maybe we're on our back porch by some heated unit. But we've given up so much outdoor recreation this last year. Not that we're mad about it. Saving lives matters more than backpacking trips and summer marathons. But as the days get warmer, I feel myself craving the smoke in the air and the hair smell from a campfire. I miss the sound of owls and the dwindling supply of beer in the cooler and the way time suspends as you wait for flames to die. Mostly, though, I miss the stories. There's something about the light of the fire in the backcountry darkness that makes you lean in and listen a little closer. And, of course, a few sips of whiskey or tequila or vodka, whatever your taste may be, never really hurt a good tall tale. So we can't bring back your spring campfire with friends. We can, however, bring our favorite campfire stories to you. So save these 3 for a retelling when things return to normal, or tell them now over a Zoom call with your friends. So the very first one I have is the ghost of Oxford Milford Road. And the storyteller, writer, and editor of this story is Mr. Brad Culp. And it says, when Brad Culp was a student at Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, there was a rumor that the town was one of the most haunted places in America. When Culp started an on-campus magazine, he couldn't wait to write about several of the area's most famous phantoms. Not long after his story was published, though, he kept finding himself thinking about one ghost in particular, and that was the ghost of Oxford Milford Road. As the story goes, many decades ago, probably sometime in the 1940s, there was a young man courting a young woman in a rural part of the town. Because the woman's parents didn't approve of the match, each night he visited under the cover of darkness. After her parents went to bed, the young woman would sneak out of her farmhouse and flash the lights of her parents' car 3 times. Then her young suitor would ride his motorcycle down the road. One night he took the turn right before her house a little too sharp, says Culp. The motorcycle went one way and he went the other. His injuries were so severe that he did not survive. Rumor has it, however, that his love-struck ghost still haunts this stretch of Milford Road. Curious, Culp, his girlfriend, now his wife, and a friend decided to head out there one night to see if they could verify the tale. His girlfriend was worried she'd be completely freaked out. She believes more in that stuff than I do, Culp says, but he was mostly concerned that his suspicious that none of this was actually true would be confirmed. On this particular night, as Culp passed the abandoned farm, an idea came to him, and he pitched it to his girlfriend. How could she not say yes? Though reluctant, she relented, and Culp turned a short way into the farmhouse driveway. He killed the engine and flashed his lights 3 times. No joke, there was a single headlight that appeared 3/4 of a mile down the road, Culp says. You saw it start to come, going pretty slow. It kept coming and coming. My wife was freaking out. It was coming closer and closer. As a collision seemed imminent, Colt turned on his car lights. He expected to see a kid on a bike, bailing out from his prank now that he'd been caught. But there's nothing there. The light is just gone, he says. They got out of the car. They walked around, trying to figure out what it was they could have seen. To this day, we still talk about it. I saw something I cannot explain, he says. If you get him and his wife around a campfire, they'll swear up and down that the story is true, and if you're even ever in Oxford, Ohio, consider parking for just a few minutes on Oxford-Milford Road at night to test your own nerve, and maybe try flashing your lights 3 times. Have you guys heard of any sort of folklore or stories like this in your area? Nick?
I can't say that I have, but that is a very charming, very tragic story. Sorry for the young man, but that's, that's a relatively, I don't want to say common story, but it sounds like, love can really make someone not want to cross over and kind of hang out for a while. It's a very charming story. Lovely.
I agree. What about you, Lynn? Anything like that in your neck of the woods? If not, I have another one.
Well, here, there's a love story if you want to hear it.
Okay. Yes, I would love to.
Okay. I believe you know some of this, but Nick doesn't know it. And your many listeners out there, fellow listeners, haven't heard this story, or they may have if they're familiar with the Allen House in Monticello, which is 25 miles from where I'm sitting. Was a young lady there.
And that's Arkansas, right? Is that Monticello, Arkansas?
Yeah, that's correct. Very local story here. She liked the guy and wanted to marry him, but he, about 1917, 1918, the problems in the world, he started looking over to Europe. And when the United States got involved in World War, he volunteered and went to Europe. She could not wait for him, it seemed. And he married another man who was, shall we say nicely, I don't want him coming in my bedroom tonight. He was a little bit of a boozer and partier, a gambler. He liked to go on the local bar and hustle. Typical guy stuff, the stuff you see in westerns, and the kind of stuff you see going around in a small time bar even today. And they had a little bit of a rocky marriage, had a kid or two, and got divorced eventually. The young man came home from World War I, and of course was highly disappointed that the love of his life had gotten married. So of course he went about, stayed out of their way, and then he got married. Well, after the girl got divorced, her name is Liddell, by the way. After her divorce, she got in contact with him again, and she was still in love with him, and he's still in love with her, and they had quite an affair. To show link, he worked in, I think, Minneapolis, up in Minnesota, for a little bit of advertising here, Texaco Oil Company. So he was well paid. He was not a slacker at all. He was an executive with the company. He didn't pump gas. He was an executive. And he paid for her ticket to go to Chicago, which you could at the time. When Monticello ride the train to Chicago from here, that was easy. And they met up and, carried on an affair for a while. Him always promising he was going to divorce his wife, even though they had 2 or 3 kids by this time. But he never did. He promised her 1 year that he was going to come down to her house to their annual Christmas party. Well, she was at the party in one of her best dresses, waiting for every time somebody knocked on the.
I think I know this story is sad.
She thought it was him. She finally walked downtown and got a letter that was delayed, but she managed to pick it up the day before, I believe, and opened it finally that evening, Christmas evening. And it was a letter saying he couldn't come, and that 1, he couldn't be there. 2, he was not going to divorce his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And 3, he wanted to break off the affair. And she, just in case something like this happened, had bought a poison from a local drugstore 2 or 3 days earlier, because it was in the back of her mind he was going to do this. And she went in, got some of the party punch from the Christmas party, took it up to her room, locked the door, mixed the poison, which is very bitter, with the punch, ate a few bites of a meal to wash it down with, and laid down, and it took her 2 days to die from it.
Oh my gosh, I thought it was much quicker than that. I know she did it during the party, and then they all came up to find, or her mom came up to find her there being very sick or dead. Oh man.
She was very sick for a couple of days and died, but it took a couple of days for her to die. And they found all this in love letters buried under the floor of the attic. So the owners of the house now, Professor Spencer, found these letters and read, the love letter she sent to him. Didn't send it to him. She wrote to him and never sent the letters off. And it was quite sad.
Yeah, so far as I know, he was traveling a lot, so she didn't really know where to send it, right?
Right. He's traveled a lot. She didn't want to send them to his house, and he was afraid that letters from a place in Arkansas would set off alarm bells. And the 1 or 2 letters she sent there did set off alarm bells at his work, so he couldn't have that kind of scandal going on at work, working for Texaco Oil.
Mm.
So, yeah, she just got left out. And she, to this day, appears sometimes in the room. Her son, from the marriage to the boozer, he wanted to go to New York and be a newspaper man. And he went to New York and was very good at what he did, and could have been a renowned journalist had he not got ill and died in his about 23, 24 years old. So it's kind of sad for him to dying so very young, and just as his career was really starting to take hold in New York City, of all places.
Getting real big, all of a sudden, there you go. No more.
Yeah, he was starting to get some fame. And then he died, got sick and died. And the 2 of them do haunt the old house. It was haunted before from previous owners. The Spencers have kind of welcomed it. It's actually been on at least 3, maybe 4 different TV shows. They like to play tricks. They appear at different ages. You might see an older woman. You might see a child. That's Liddell appearing as she did. Alan, which is what everybody calls him, it's technically his middle name, except as his middle name, her maiden name. So everybody just called him Alan. he is a trickster. Where
Mhm.
Liddell doesn't like crowds. And on Halloween and the day before Halloween, they do tours in there, and Liddell gets tired very quickly and refuses to answer any questions thrown her way or do any kind of, I'm Liddell, to entertain people.
Yeah.
Alan is a trickster and likes entertaining the people. And I was sitting up there on Halloween night 2 years back, and I had my Echo Vox, of course, going in one of the rooms, and the tours were coming through. And this gentleman comes walking, a typical Arkansas gentleman, and I put gentleman in quotes. You know what I'm talking about, Tessa. The usual Arkansas guy.
Oh yeah.
With his baseball cap in there, looking around, trying to be tough.
Scrib.
Scared out of his wits. You can tell that by looking at him.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this is going to be fun. And I could feel that Alan was seeing the same things because I was talking with him, just didn't say anything. And I said, Alan, there's a man in here that just walked in this room wearing a baseball cap. There was only one in the group of about 12 or 15 walking through with a baseball cap. I said, can you say his name good and loud so we can hear it? Alan, within a couple of seconds, stated this guy's name, and I had not asked what his name was. I had no clue. Alan said his name. The guy froze. His eyes got big. He ran. He was gone. He ran out of the room, past the tour group, and out of the house.
Skeet, skeet, skeet.
And they are to this day. Liddell doesn't do a whole lot. She has spoken to me. The first time I spoke to her, I was up there for the first time. The first Halloween I was there, our first Halloween in Arkansas. And I looked at the tour guide, and I said, I don't know where Gail is. I don't know what floor she's on, but I need to go look for her because I think she's ready to go. And I felt the spirit leave us. And I said, Liddell just left. And the tour guy looked at me and said, yeah, I think she just left. And I was talking to Gail later, and she felt something touch her.
Oh, wow.
It's nice, not a scratch, not a hit,
No.
just a friendly touch. And she came back and says, yes, over my Echo Vox.
I know going through this red wine murder trial, I've been touched a couple times. I'm like, what the hell just touched me? Something just touched me, like right above my elbow on my right arm, or like on my leg, or in my back. So many different times. It's been insane.
Somebody trying to get your attention. That's not sensual. That's not a sensual body part. And that's where she got touched, just on her shoulder, the upper arm area. To come back and say yes, she is. That Gail was ready to go, and she was sitting in the front parlor waiting on me. Just let me do whatever I wanted to do. Whenever I got done, that was the only way we could leave the house, was the front door. Figured sooner or later I'd pass by, and Liddell checked to see if Gail was ready to go, and told me she was. And this was very unusual for our first contact. It's for the spirit to be that friendly.
Yeah.
The reason I think she was that friendly is because she sees something she missed in Gail and I. Two people, we carry on, we have our jokes back and forth. We even joke in front of people sometimes. But we're in love with each other. Been deeply in love. This fall will be 20 years of marriage. So
oh,
I've
congratulations.
got something that Liddell missed out on.
Right.
And
something she didn't have.
Something she could have had she not married the boozer.
Mm-hmm.
If she had waited for her love to come back from World War I, she could have married him and led a nice life. I mean, their family had means. In fact, they started their own town, Arkansas.
Right.
That's halfway between here and Monticello. Used to have a train stop there. It's only got a volunteer fire station. They don't have a mayor. It's one church, about 7 or 8 houses, and that's it. That's all that's left of Liddell, Arkansas. But the town is named after her. It was a train stop he wanted to put there because at the time it was needed to move passengers and to gather crops to take them to other places in Arkansas, take them to Dumas, or Star City was here, but it wasn't so much here. They're taking them to Dumas, Monticello, and to Pine Bluff. They taking the local crops from the area. But of course, that train was only lasted 2 or 3 decades, and then it was gone, and you can't even see barely in the woods. You can tell where the trees are a lot is either side of where the railroad used to be. That's the only marker you have for the old railroad.
Yeah, that's
So
how a lot of
Liddell
ghost
as a
towns are
town
made and
is
such.
It's just about a dead town,
Ghost town.
which is also sad.
Yeah, it happens though all over the place.
Yeah. Buried, and of course the big cemetery in Monticello, just a short 5, 6, 7 minute walk from her house. And the eye doctor I go to down in Monticello is actually the other side of the cemetery, and actually I can walk from my eye doctor to her gravesite.
Nice.
Buried. So there are several little links I've got with Liddell. I like to think we've become friends. Alan is easy to become friends because he is lively, he is talkative.
All you gotta do is pour him a shot.
He will sit there and
Is that her, was supposed to be her
Yeah, or
betrothed but missed out on? Or is that the booze man?
Alan's her son.
Oh, okay.
So, the son that died was in New York and died.
Oh,
They
yeah,
brought him
okay.
back. He's also buried beside her.
That's
So
cool.
they brought him by train back from New York, buried him with her. So he found it there. There is some talk of doppelgangers there.
Oh.
Even the Spencers have said that they've seen each other, doppelgangers of the husband. The wife will see the husband, the husband will see the wife, and know that their real husband or wife their spouse is in a different room on a different floor of the house.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden we'll see them stand. Nobody's quite sure why that happens, whether it's other spirits coming in or whether Alan won't admit to playing jokes like that. But having gotten to know him, it's not beyond his capacity to sit there and just watch people say their spouse standing in front of them, knowing their spouse is in the floor below. And hasn't been on the floor for an hour or two, but all of a sudden their spouse sees their spouse there.
Yeah.
It could be Alan, but he won't admit it. I asked him, he will not admit it to me.
No, because then he'd be admitting that it's real. He's not going to admit to that. Because then it would make it real.
And I accept that as the answer. And I guess that's why he and I are kind of friends. Is because I accept him the way he is and as he is and the way he wants to be. I want to talk to him on his terms. And I helped him pull that gag on that one guy. I scared the hell out of the guy. I don't remember his name, and I wouldn't know him if he walked in the door now. But I think Alan still laughs about that, and that was just a joke that I opened the door for Alan, and Alan just walked through and said his name. loud too.
Well, I do have a couple more
And
ghost
he
stories.
was hilarious.
I'm really liking this one, but this next one.
What you got?
Okay, so this one says, was it people or was it those damn Allens? Okay, so the storyteller is Doug Averill, retired owner and manager of the Flathead Lake Lodge. So Doug Averill grew up as one of 8 boys on his parents' sprawling dude ranch, the Flathead Lodge, or Lake Lodge, in rural Montana. As a teen, the Averill boys ran wild. We rode around as a little gang of cowboys, he remembers. They'd saddle up and head off to check cattle on the 3 giant tracts of land the family managed, which formed a triangle around some of the state's most remote rangelands. One summer in the 1960s, the brothers came across a ghastly sight. There, on the ground, were 3 dead cows neatly arranged in a circle. No obvious wounds were visible, but their reproductive organs had been removed. But there was never any blood. It was almost surgical removal, Averill remembers. During this decade, America was obsessed with aliens, and write-ups in local newspapers posited, should be posted, I think, that perhaps this was the work of extraterrestrials. People mused that aliens had taken the reproductive organs for testing. But one day, Averill and his friends came across a lance in their path. Attached to it was a cryptic note with a threatening message. That's when we thought, it's gotta be people doing this, he says. Then things got really strange. Over the next few days, a series of odd events unfolded. First, the brothers stopped in at a local bar to grab a hamburger, leaving their horses in the back of a stock truck. The horses were packed in tightly, and the Averills were only gone for a few minutes. When they came back, the horse packed into the middle of the truck was mysteriously out, with no signs of a struggle. We had no idea how they possibly could have gotten the horse unloaded without unloading all the others, he says. The next day, a new wrangler on the ranch fell off his horse and was badly injured. They'd all been riding together, but not a single other member of the crew saw the accident. It was the weirdest thing, Averill says. The man's injuries were so severe that he was left permanently disabled. Finally, the last terrible thing happened. An old camp cook, who always said, "It needs more lard," drove out to meet the brothers, sorry, I had to add that, and ride for a day. But when he arrived, the tailgate on his stock truck had somehow gone missing. Even though it had been there when he loaded up, his horse Betsy had fallen out of the truck and been dragged behind the vehicle for who knows how long. They had to put her down on the spot. "To be honest, it just killed them to see what had happened to Betsy. We probably should have put him down too," remembers Averill. "Those 3 events were just boom, boom, boom. 3 things in a row that were so weird all tied together because they were right after we saw that spear," he remembers. So 3 things like the 3 dead cows left in a circle. Averill used to tell the stories from the summer around the campfire quite a lot. But over the years, he's gotten new stories, and so they've been shifted out of rotation. Besides, they're awfully grim. But he recently got a call about a downed bull, a buffalo. It was out in one of the most remote parts of his ranch. A neighbor had seen a pack of 16 wolves, and normally wolves don't bother buffalo, but 16 of them? I thought, well, maybe. He went to investigate. There, lying in a snow-covered field, was the bull. But there were no bullet holes or teeth marks or gashes on its corpse. Even stranger, scavenging animals and birds hadn't touched it. Not even the buzzards, which is really unusual, he says. One thing that was amiss is reproductive organs were gone, and there wasn't a single footprint in the snow around it or anywhere along the mile-long walk into the ranch from the northeast road. So, ask Averill whether he thinks he's dealing with aliens or humans, and he'll tell you he's pretty sure it's humans, but he'd rather it was aliens, he adds. After that summer, back in the 60s, seeing what humans were capable of, he'd pick aliens any day. Because, yes, humans are quite savage. But what do you think? Like, we had all of these, lips and organs, so on and so forth, missing from cattle, no blood anywhere. Then it was quite a while. Then recently again it's happening. What are your thoughts, Nick and Lynn? Is it those damn aliens, or is it those damn humans?
Sounds like somebody's making hot dogs.
Right?
I heard a knock on my window.
Because
Ooh, weird.
I'm not looking anywhere right now. They can just keep knocking.
Yeah. Don't do it, Mia. Stay away from the window.
It might have just been the rain or something. I don't know.
I will quote something from Lonesome Dove, which was a Western miniseries during the 90s.
Was it I Can't Stand Any More of Your Gas? Or was it something else?
No. It said that there's nothing more savage than a white man.
It is true.
If you think about it, of all the so-called backward, uneducated people in Africa, the Native Americans, the American Indian, any kind of black savage.
I have to go back on what I said when I said that's true, because there is this island, and I think it's right off Australia, but this island is out there where nobody ever goes, and nobody is permitted to go. If you go there, you're breaking the law. But anybody, no matter how nice they may seem, that are trying to approach the island or even arrive on the banks of this island are killed automatically.
Right.
So there are those guys.
Right. But there's this savage atrocities that black men have committed over the years is just amazing. If you look in Nazi Germany, that was white man, the Aryan race, supposedly killed 6 million Jews in a horrendous way, but literally starved and worked them to death. And what white people have done that nobody really wants to talk about because it's that critical race theory that's going around there everybody hates. It's what whites did to the African Americans here, the slaves and then former slaves. The atrocities that were done and still occasionally done. All done by white men, and all of it, a lot of times, exceedingly almost inhuman and very, very savage. I have to agree with Lonesome Dove on this one. There's nothing more savage than white men.
I don't agree with that. There's been atrocities committed by all races, and every time you hear something, you just can't imagine anyone being that brutal and savage towards someone. Along comes an even worse story. And, anything like what they're trying to do is make us forget, again, where value comes from, which is people. And the way they do that is to, make us grow up on things like SpongeBob. Okay, so I poisoned myself with about 5 minutes of SpongeBob in my life. What I saw was SpongeBob was in a barn with a bunch of his friends, and he accidentally shrinks his friends with a shrink ray and a bunch of stuff in the barn. So they get all pissed off at him, and they run and grab some shrunken axes and pitchforks and shovels, and they crawl into the pores of the sponge, and they start hacking at his brains with shovels and pitchforks and axes.
Wow.
So I told this to a younger girl who had grown up watching this stuff. And she said, SpongeBob wasn't always like that. I mean, but then she stopped and she said, you know what? Yeah, SpongeBob was something like that. It was always violent, always trying to train us to demean each other. And the fact is that, whatever race committed whatever atrocity is the tiniest of minority of that race.
Yeah.
And, they try to paint a picture like, oh, we're all like that. No, we're not. That is not our nature. We are not naturally savage and, brutal towards each other.
Everybody thought that Plankton on SpongeBob was the bad guy, but Plankton knew the truth of what the secret inside of the Krabby Patty was. And do you know what it was? It was crabs.
I assume you mean actual crustaceans and not those things that make you...
Well, so Mr. Krabs, who owned the Krabby Patty, was producing burgers that the special ingredient was crabs. Like he was, basically making burgers out of his own kind. Yes. There's a lot of cartoons that are made on really messed up things like that. Bob's Burgers, Cannibalistic Burgers. They're burgers actually made off of people. Pretty gross.
I never watched SpongeBob. I didn't know that about him. But what was the crab girl's name?
Are you talking about the squirrel, Sally?
No, I'm talking about the it's what SpongeBob. You're talking about the crab girl or something?
No, Mr. Krabs, the one that owned the Krabby Patty.
The Krabby Patty. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
I've heard that being referred to girls who have crabs, women who have crabs.
Oh my.
Called a Krabby Patty.
Wow.
Sounds like they had a little sense of humor.
Which Facebook doesn't. Guess what, guys? I'm in Facebook jail. I could not talk to anyone for like 20 hours. Now I can't post any live events or go live. Like, I can't post any radio shows for 30 days. It's because I posted a blow-up tent, so it's got a blow-up bottom, and there's a tent on top, and it's floating in the middle of this very calm, peaceful river, and it says, look, I found a new way, a new fun way to die while camping. It's just sarcasm. It's not serious. It's not like, hey, I want to commit suicide, check out this tent. So, yeah. The other time I got blocked was due to the COVID vaccination thing and Putin taking the COVID vaccination and growing a pair of tits. So I posted one with him with a pair of tits, and that was the first time I got blocked, and this is the second time, and they're saying that We Are Paradox Media is in danger of being closed down. I'm just like, are you serious? Like, what the crack? What happened to freedom of speech? And this isn't even anything bad. Oh my gosh. I don't get it.
Well, I'm happy to say
I thought
Facebook
it was
is
funny.
in my jail.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was
I
funny.
heard like this quote or this thing today where it was like, what's a crazy conspiracy theory that you've learned is true? And it basically said like that Zuckerberg created Facebook because he so desperately wanted to get laid, but now the Russians are collecting all of our information.
Yeah,
it's kind of
went the wrong way. What were you saying, Nick?
Not just the Russians, but the Chinese too as well. They're collecting all our information.
Yes. What?
That's more likely and 100%.
What were you saying, Nick?
These demons that have fooled us into controlling the world that benefits only them. They're not associated with any country. They're globalists. And so they cloak themselves in China or Russia. But really that's just to throw us off their trail. And so it's important that we keep an eye on the people themselves. As far as Facebook is permanently, has been given a life sentence by me and is in my jail. And I do not have anything to do with that sickening pustule on the internet. Feces book, I call it. And,
yes. I've called that for a while. Feces book.
Or face crook. That's what it is. It's a crook, and it steals all our identity, all our information, and sells it and profits off it.
And listens to you.
Really?
They say they don't listen to you, but look at all the advertisements popping up as you talk about them with your friends.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're talking about this? Well, here you go. Here's an advertisement for that. You're not listening? Give me a break.
So the code name for the CIA face scan database? Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what they call it.
Nick, let me ask you a question. This question is directed at both Tessa and Nick. Help me out with this. There has been at least three different things, different times that my wife and I have discussed going to a location or buying a particular item, talking about it in our home. No microphones. I didn't even have this laptop that I'm talking on right now. Didn't even have this laptop at the time. And in fact, this laptop's included in one of these little events. But we're talking about getting an item or going somewhere, and within 10 minutes of our conversation, she gets advertising on Facebook or other locations, advertising about either the location or the item we were talking about, and there's been no microphones, no cameras turned on, but we were discussing it in front of our computers.
Even your cell phones.
Do the computers have a built-in? No, our cell phones. Mine was turned off. Hers was not. Hers may have been on, but didn't have. She wasn't in a call. But on at least 3 different occasions, they start advertising within minutes of our conversation. So do computers have a built-in microphone where they can listen in to your conversations? And when you talk about going to a location or talk about buying something, all of a sudden they start sending you advertising for it?
Back in the 80s, I think, is when they came out with these digital cable boxes. So it was more than 13, 12 channels, so they had to give you a box so you can get the additional channels. Those had microphones in them, and they had chips in them to track what you watch and hear what you're saying. So, I mean, if you want to, say, delete your Facebook, you can't. All you can do is deny yourself access to it, whereas the rest, basically of the world does have access to it. Everyone except you has access to your Facebook if you try to delete it.
Yeah, and there's smartphones, smart TVs, computers. Even before that, when we had our connected to our Xbox and our TV unit, even when we had our Xbox off, we caught this thing roaming about the room and just filming whatever's going on. So we unplugged that, and I don't even know where it's gone since then. I think an old roommate stole it, but I've had several occasions of being on Facebook or not even being on there, my phone, my computer, your smart TV, your smart whatever you got going on. I don't use Alexa or anything like that, but some people do. That listens too. It's been busted doing it. What do you think, Mia? Have you had things like that happen as well?
More than that, even. It's gone to a whole nother level of crazy, where it's like, now sometimes I swear if you're thinking about it, it will pop up. Like,
That
not
is.
even say it verbally.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we may be dealing with at some point in our possible lifetimes. But it's like the algorithm is so... It also could be, I feel like, programming you to think about these things in order to make the advertisement. So it's not even necessarily that maybe you're thinking about something. It's maybe you're watching something and subconsciously it gets you thinking of something to buy something, and then you get an advertisement for it and you didn't say it out loud. I mean, it's crazy with the algorithms. And that's part. I mean, I don't have my camera on. I don't like to allow access for a lot of my apps and stuff like that. I think we've all had experiences with our phones where it's like the camera. I've had experiences in the middle of the night with my camera on my phone turned on and just some weird stuff. And so I just try to avoid it. But I'm not paranoid. I'm not saying don't go. My mom, she's a little more extreme when it comes to it, but the things that I've noticed have been pretty crazy lately as far as algorithms and advertisements.
That is insane. It makes you wonder about the whole 5G and all this other shenanigans going on. I don't know, not for all of us, but for a lot of us, the UFO sightings, all the different things that are happening that are otherworldly. It's just kind of above and beyond, and it's hard to realize or even interpret what may happen next, because there is really no
That's true.
concluding or seeing what is about to happen, because my mind has been blown repeatedly within the last couple months and beyond.
Well, to address what Nick said in answer to my question, we have a dish out here. We live just outside of town of 2,400 people. There's no cable company here. So to watch different channels other than Little Rock TV stations, which is about 85, 90 miles from here by the way the crow flies, and have to have a major antenna on a tower in the backyard to pick their channels up through the air, you have to have satellite TV. So we have Dish, and as far as the conversations going that we got to wonder about the advertising, of course there's a box tied to our main TV in our living room. Your conversations there, if it's mic'd. And in here in the den behind me, we have one of they call their hopper, which is a micro box that's connected to the big box that you can watch different channels on. And our main TV is a smart TV that is tied to the internet. So could people be listening over the internet to anything we say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
It's not to say they always are, but they do have their AI listening to everything, and they're looking for trigger words, and I don't know. I know I'm not worried about it. Like the stuff I talk about, exactly what I said before, how to get rid of poverty. The whole agenda is to make more poverty. So
Right.
Obviously the answer is to get rid of poverty, which we could do tomorrow. And I don't know anybody else who's saying these things. And I know that the system, that is the Achilles heel of the system, is
Mhm.
getting us out of poverty. So that's good. I hope they are listening to me. I hope they realize we will all inherit the world that we helped create. So if we create a world that's better for people, we're going to inherit that. If we create a world that's miserable and horrible like it is, they're going to inherit that. And so, it's some call it karma, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that's what's waiting for us.
And I was talking about that earlier as far as affordable housing. Like, it's not out there, so many people that are homeless now will probably always be homeless because there is not that option to find affordable housing. It's all outlandish rent, and it just gets higher and higher and higher every year. I'm not saying invade the suburbs, but there are areas where we could put up this affordable housing for everybody to live in. And I do agree with you. Like, getting rid of poverty and the homeless is one of our number one things that we do need to do. And everybody's like, oh my God, look how they're ruining California and such. They're not ruining California. The government is, because they're just ignoring it. And they're not addressing the issue. They have people going out with clipboards, so on and so forth, repeatedly doing the same things over and over and over again, but it's not really happening. But you guys, we are at the end of our time, so thank you again, Nick, Mia, and also Lynn, for being on the show tonight for this weekend's 4th of July free-for-all. We really have kind of been all over the board, but I think we've covered a lot of important issues. But I want to thank you guys again for joining us tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies.
Good night, everybody.
Yes, thank you. Have a safe weekend.
And thank you to all of our friends on We Are Paradox Media's Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, Periscope, iHeartRadio, and wherever else beyond the Omniverse you're listening tonight. I had a wonderful time, and I can't wait to do it again next weekend when we're going to be riding into the paranormal with Mr. John Russell on Saturday, July 10th, and on Sunday, July 11th, It's Bloodbath Theater with Mr. William Pattinson. I can't wait. So don't forget, you guys, we are all in this together. Together we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. If you'd like to join us for the Skype after party, tonight's probably not the best night, but you never know. There could be somebody in there because the fireworks are gone. But you can look me up at tessa.n.thomas30 or give us a call at 970-335-9596. Thank you to all of our sponsors. We have Mr. Jim Morris, Mr. Kevin McDougall, Mr. Dell Elson, and Miss Mea Savage, as well as our musical host, Mr. Roy Washington of Quest Nation. Until next time, Nighty Night, Love and Light. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend and week, and I will see you back here, same time, same place. You guys take care of my yous.